Today we're going to break down something that quite often appears in court procedures, but is very rarely explained in plain language. That word is cognizance. Cognizance simply refers to a point in which a court formally recognises a case and accepts authority to deal with it. Understanding this process is important because before a court can move forward with any case, certain procedural steps must be taken first. So let's walk through how that works.
Cognizance means the moment a court formally recognises a case and accepts authority to deal with it. For a court to take cognizance, it must have lawful jurisdiction over the matter. The parties involved must also be notified that proceedings exist. Without proper notification, a court cannot properly take cognizance. This requirement exists to protect fair process and to ensure any decision made by the court is considered lawful and enforceable. The process usually begins when a claim or application is filed in the correct court. This involves submitting the required forms and paying the required court fees. Once the claim is filed, legal documents must be served. Service means formally delivering the documents to the legal person recorded in the proceedings, sometimes described in law
as an ens legis.
Service is required so the matter is officially notified within the legal process. After service takes place, a response may be filed with the court. This may be an acknowledgement of service or a defence responding to the claim. Once the documents are filed and responses are received, the court may list the matter for a hearing or for case directions. At this stage, the court proceeds with the case and adjudication begins. Service of documents must follow specific procedural rules. In some situations, documents may be served by email. However, email service is only valid if written consent has been provided confirming the email address for service. Without written consent, email service is normally considered invalid. In that situation, the court may require documents to be served again using approved methods. Technical requirements may also apply, such as file format or attachment size. Sometimes a man or woman cannot be located or does not have a fixed address. When normal service is not practical, the court may allow something called substituted service. Substituted service allows documents to be delivered by alternative methods. This may include email, social media, or publication in a newspaper. However, this cannot be done automatically. An application must be made to the court explaining why normal service is not possible. If the court agrees, it may authorize the alternative method. This ensures that men and women without fixed addresses are still able to participate in proceedings. Different types of cases follow different procedural rules. Civil matters follow the civil procedure rules, often called the CPR. These rules deal with disputes such as contracts, property matters, and personal injury claims. Criminal matters follow the criminal procedure rules, known as the CrimPR. These rules guide criminal charges, trials, and sentencing. Family matters follow the family procedure rules, known as the FPR. These rules deal with divorce, children, and domestic matters. If a case moves to appeal, the applicable procedures may change depending on the level of court.
So, in simple terms, a court takes cognizance of a case once the matter has been properly filed, correctly served, and the parties have been given the opportunity to respond. Email service requires written consent. Substituted service may be allowed when somebody cannot be reached by normal means. And different procedural rules apply depending on whether or not the matter is civil, criminal, or family. Understanding these procedures helps us to navigate the legal system better. If you found this explanation helpful, make sure you follow the channel, give it a like and a share, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.